think I'll be the only one sitting in front.
Well, I'll sit in front, but I don't want to be on camera. Besides, I'm only in the second row.
I'm only following the instructions.
Well, he didn't tell me.
Not but how long?
He wants us to move along.
What's that for?
Shabbat shalom, Mauritius.
We missed your installation.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And would you be willing to read this when I call upon you, in this particular one?
I knew it. I knew it. I knew it.
You said that.
If you're coming
Bad.
That's why you see us in mass and you're in mass.
Yeah, exactly. We're glad you're here. Installation of the garage.
I'll tell you, Curry is something.
That's why I watched it. I was rooting for. I sort of found it more because they're the Knicks. Well, Knicks are right now, but I thought Steph Curry just.
He's amazing.
He has a couple off nights, but I mean, in general, he can drive the way he drives to the basket, not just from outside, even the way he moves.
Yeah, he's
Gets to
just.
the basket even.
Yep.
Oh, you saw some of it?
Not all of it.
I was watching the whole thing.
I couldn't do the whole thing.
Especially the five. They love basketball and football. The hockey, I could care less. In fact, Pat, who likes hockey, says he can't get into it because it's extended somehow. Usually the hockey is over. Pat doesn't know how it's being played this long. Hockey is so long. Maybe, because of the COVID. Usually it's over. But
Am I supposed to announce that this is all business?
I don't know. Around who's outside that.
No, it's okay. I will let you know when it's.
He was the,
Yeah, I mean, if possible, and also. I'm gonna try to get him like to come as possible, as wise as it turns out.
Oh, see, this is long.
You know, right? This was done.
Extra payers.
Yeah.
Am I supposed to announce the stop rabbis?
Sure, Kipnis.
It is Kipnis.
Kipnis.
Like it's spelled.
If it's not, then we can blame that. There was a Jewish guy from Chicago named Jason Kipnis who played for the Cleveland baseball team for a while.
Oh,
Jewish guy. And he actually played for the Cubs for a few weeks. All right, who's got the time?
about 4 minutes to go.
4 minutes? Okay. All right, so,
And 5:57.
all right, I will, you know what, I'm gonna move the chairs back. That was like, to me, that was a little too ambitious on my part. I will move it, you don't have to sit there. This is my solution.
Yeah, but I'll be out there.
Close
So
knit or
it's
whatever.
5:57. Yeah, I'll be there.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. I mean, it was my silly idea, so I don't wanna. Oh, yeah.
Are you all sitting?
I guess.
I see we got run up for millions, he just, seats
Yeah.
I'll do a little intro real quick to
Oh, okay.
explain what we're doing.
Okay.
So Ryan Tovey, is it on? We are on. How about this?
No.
Perhaps we are not. It's charging. This will be very anticlimactic. Okay, no lights.
Is the receiver on?
What's that?
The receiver on, that's the transmitter receiver in the other room.
I mean,
Yeah, you
well, I mean, that night's working, so.
Because that one works does not necessarily mean that the other could be a separate unit, I don't know.
What are you, an electrician? Yes, you are.
I am a sound maven.
You are, absolutely. Obviously. Well, this works, I'll just use this. Sarayim Tovim, welcome to Temple Beth Tzedek. This Friday night service will be a little different than what we normally do. We, of course, welcome those who are here in person and those that are on live stream. This is going to be both a Kabbalat Shabbat service and a healing service. The idea is that we have just recently passed Shloshim. We have recently passed the 30-day anniversary since the massacre at the Top Supermarket on Jefferson Avenue. And it was something that obviously has shaken up the entire Buffalo community. And we, of course, know that we are not immune to acts of hate. Any acts of hatred are, for any acts of hatred, it is our responsibility to address them, to cope with them, and to advocate for better policies and for better understanding. So what we are going to do is, over the course of our service, mainly during Kabbalat Shabbat, we're going to include an extra song and also some extra readings that will try to allow us to commemorate this moment in time when we remember those who were victims, and we also grapple with our feelings now and how we will cope with them in the future. We will start like we normally do on a Friday afternoon when it's light out. We will do the Mincha service, the afternoon service, for a weekday. Page 1 in our Sidurim.
Ashrei Yoshvei Ve'techa Od Yalalu Choselo Shem תהילת אדוני ידבר בפיו ויברך כל בשר שם קדשו לעולם ועד ואנחנו נברך יה מעתה ועד עולם הללויה יקרא ויקדש שם רבה ועלמא דברך חירותי וימליך מלכותי בחייכון וביומכון ובחיי כל בית ישראל בעגלה ובזמן קריב אמרו יהי שמי רבה מבורך לעולם ולעולמי עולמיה יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי דקודשו לעילם מן כל ברכתה ושירתה תושבחתה ונחמתה דמירן ועלמא ואמרו.
We rise. Our cantor will lead us in the first 2 pages of the Amidah, 3a and 4, and the rest is individual through page 9.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu ve'Elohei Avotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, ve'Elohei Yaakov, Ha'el Hagadol Hagibor v'Hanora El Elyon, Gomel Chasodim Tovim, ve'Konei HaKol, ve'Zocher Chastei Avot, u'Mevi Goel Livnei V'neihem L'man Shemo B'Yahava, Melech Ozer u'Moshe u'Magen, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham, atah Gibor Le'olam Adonai, Mechayei
מתים אתה רב להושיע, מכלכל חיים בחסד, מחיי מתים ברחמים רבים, סומך נופלים ורופא חולים ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר. מי כמוך בעל גבורות ומדום מלך, מלך ממית ומחיה ומצמיח ישועה, ונאמן אתה להחיות מתים, ברוך אתה אדוני מחיי המתים. נקדש את שמך בעולם כשם שמקדישים אותו בשמי מרום, ככתוב על יד נביאך, וקרא זה אל זה ויאמר. קדוש 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 אדוני צבאות מלך הארץ כבודו ליומתם ברוך יאמרו. ברוך כבוד אדוני ממקומו ובדברי קודשך כתוב לאמור. וימלוך אדוני לעולם אלוהיך ציון לדור ודור הללויה. לדור ודור נגיד גודלך ולנצח נצחים קדושתך נקדיש. שבחך אלוהינו מפינו לא ימוש לעולם ועד, כי אל מלך גדול וקדוש אתה, ברוך אתה אדוני האל הקדוש.
Feel free to continue if you are still reciting the Amidah. Page 10, Kaddish Shalem, and Aleinu is on page 11.
יתגדל ויקדש שמי רבו, ועלמא דברו חירותי וימליך מלכותי, בחיי חון וביומי חון ובחיי כל בית ישראל, בעגלו וזמן קורא ואמרו. יהי שמי רבו מבורך לעולם ולעולמי עולמיה, יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא, ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי דקודשו, לעילה מן כברכתה ושירתה, תושבחתה ונחמתה, דמירן בעלמא ואמרו. תתקבל צלותנו ואורהון דכל ישראל, קדם אבוהון דבשמיא ואמרו. יהי שלום רבו מן שמיא וחיים עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו. עושה שלום במרומיו הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו. עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגור עלינו ככל המונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים, הקדוש ברוך הוא. ככתוב בתורתך אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא ביום יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו אחד.
For those mourning, those observing Yartzeit, Mourners Kaddish, page 12. Yikadal v'yikadash shemeh rabam v'yalma divra kiruteh v'yamlich malchuteh v'chayechon v'yomechon v'chaye dechol beit Yisrael ba'agalau v'zman kari v'imru amen yehi shmeh rabam v'orach le'alam u'lameh amaya yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shmeh dekudsha brichu Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechamata dami ran bi'alma v'imru amen. Yehi shlama rabba min shmaya v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'mramav hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. You may be seated. So as I mentioned, the healing service that we are doing for this Shloshim, the 30-day anniversary of the massacre at Top Supermarket, we will be doing these portions of the service interspersed with the rest of Kabbalat Shabbat. To open things up, we'll have an opening Kavanah. And for those who have received readings, if you're able, we'd love it if you could come forward to read from here. If you can't, then we'll find a way to bring a microphone to you.
So much devastation, so much loss, so far away and really so close by. And so quickly, our ancestors, faced with the overwhelming power of the floods, sought answers in the moral fiber of the world and in a God who corrects for humanity's lapses by wiping the slate clean. How else to explain the tragedy they beheld? The fisherman going out to sea, as he had done every day for 20 years, just to put food on the table for his family. The family who had saved for a year to travel to an exotic beach for the vacation of their lifetime. The children playing on the beach, the adults going to work. They were no better than any of us. They were also no worse. They were, in fact, just like us. Men and women, children and teenagers going about their lives the best way they knew how. And the waters swallowed them, and in truth, we don't know why. And the slate is not wiped clean. It is strewn with bodies and mud and children's toys and wreckage that will never be entirely put back together. Tonight, we find God, Hashem, in one another's faces, in the faces of those who have rushed to help, in the faces of those who have sought to comfort, in the faces of those who are struggling to survive against the odds.
We'll continue on page 14, Yedid Nefesh.
ידיד נפש אב הרחמן משוך עבדך אל רצונך ירוץ עבדך כמו אייל ישתחווה אל מול הדרך ירב לו ידידותך מנוף צוף וכל תואם הדור נאה זיו העולם נפשי חולת אהבתך Ana elena refana la behar otla noam zivach as titchazek v'titrape v'ha'talach shivchan olam v'tik yehemu Rachamecha v'chusna al ben ohavach ki ze kama nichsof lir'ot b'tiferet ozach anayli machmad libi chushana ve'alatir alam higalena ufrois chaviv alai etzukat shelomach ta'ir eretz mikvodach nagila v'nismecha bach Maher ahuv kiva moed v'chavoneini ki me'olam yala lai 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 yala lai 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 yala lai 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 la la lai 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 yala lai 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 yala lai 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 yala lai 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 la la lai 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 yala lai 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 yala lai 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 yala lai 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 la la lai 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 yala lai 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 yala lai 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 yala lai 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 la la lai 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 yala lai 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 yala 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 lai 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 yala lai 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 yala lai 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 la la lai 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 yala lai 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 yala lai 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 yala lai 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 la la lai lai lai.
Continue with the Psalms of the next two pages, 15 and 16.
Lechuneranena, lechuneranena, lechuneranena ladonai. Lechuneranena, lechuneranena, lechuneranena ladonai. Naria, naria, letzur yishenu, nekadma fanav betoda. Naria, naria, letzur yishenu, bizmirot naria lo. Lechuneranena, lechuneranena, lechuneranena. Lechuneranena ladonai, lechuneranena, lechuneranena, lechuneranena ladonai. Arba'im shana kur bedor va'omaram to'e levavhem vehem lo yadu drachai asher nishbati ve'api im yavavon el menuchati Shirul Adonai shir chadash Shirul Adonai kol haaretz Shirul Adonai baruch shemo basru miyom leyom yeshuato sapru vagoyim kevodo bechol ha'amim nifleotav ki gadol Adonai hulal me'od No rahu ale kol Elohim lai 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 ki kol Elohei hoamim elilim v'adonai shomayim oso hood vehodor lefonov oz v'tiferet b'mikdasho havul Adonai mishpechot amim havul Adonai kavod va'oz havul Kevod Shemo שאו מנך, ובואו לחצרות טוב, לילה השתחוו, לאדוני בהדרת קודש, חילו מפניו וכל הארץ, אמרו בגויים, אדוני מלך, אף תיקון תבל בעל תימות, ידין עמים במישורים, ישמחו השמיים ותוגל הארץ, ירעם הים, לא יעלו סודי וכל אשר בו לילה יעוז ירננו כל הצער לפני אדוני כי יבוא לשפוט הארץ ישפוט תבל בצדק ועמים באמונתו לילה
We'll continue with our next reading entitled Let Tranquility Reign.
Some days, Ancient One, some days the prayers of your people are so close we can hold them in our hands, feel them with our eyes, taste them with our breath. They surround our hearts to become our yearning. They surround our song to become our grieving. They surround our souls to become our pleading. My soul has dwelled too long among those who hate peace. I am for peace, but when I speak of it, they are for war. When will peace come, source of peace? When will sorrow be vanquished? When will tranquility reign? Adonai will guard you from all harm. God will guard your soul. Adonai will guard your going and coming now and forevermore. For you are our hope, our comfort, our blessing. Let those who cherish life bless this day and every day. For the sake of my comrades and companions, I shall say, peace be with you. For the sake of the house of Adonai, our God, I will seek your good. Let these prayers ascend to the lofty heights, so that the nations and peoples of the earth will rejoice in holiness, will rejoice in splendor, and will rejoice together in righteousness.
Return back to our Sidurim for the next 3 pages, pages 17 through 19.
Or zaru ala tzadik ul yishmele v'simcha, simchu tzadikim baronai, v'hodu lezecher kadesho. Mizmor shiru l'Adonai, shir chadash, ki niflaot asa, Hoshia lo yemino, uzro akadsho, hodia Adonai Yeshuato, le'enei hagoyim gilad tzidkato, zachar chasto ve'emunato, levei Yisrael, ra'u kolav se'aretz, et Yeshuat Eloheinu, hariyu l'Adonai, kol haaretz, pitzchu v'ranenu v'zamero, zamru l'Adonai bechinor, bechinor v'kol azimra, בחצוצרות וקול שופר, הריו לפני המלך אדוני, ירם הים ומלואו, תבל ויושבי בו, נהרו עמך וכף, יחר הרים ירננו, לפני אדוני קיבה לשפוט הארץ, ישפוט תבל בצדק ועמים במישורים. לי 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 La 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 la. Ramamu Adonai Eloheinu, Ishtachavu lahar Kadesho, Ki Kadosh Adonai Eloheinu.
In the Haftarah for this Shabbat, there is a phrase which I mentioned in my weekly video today. There is a phrase that has become very famous because of a Debbie Friedman song. And that phrase is, not by might, not by power, but by spirit alone shall we live in peace. For those who are here, I've handed these song sheets out. It's a pretty quick song, but I figured that this would be, no pun intended, an empowering song for us. Our hope that as much as we are dealing with matters of force, of weaponry, and of destruction, that we will one day live at a time when our spirits will be the only thing that we need in order to soar. If you know the song, please feel free to join in. Not by might and not by power, but by Spirit alone shall we all live in peace. Not by might and not by power, but by Spirit alone, Ruach, shall we all live in peace. The children sing, the children dream, and their tears will fall, but we'll hear them call, and another song will rise. Another song will rise. Another song will rise. Not by might and not by power, but by Spirit alone, Ruach, shall we all live in peace. Not by might and not by power, but by Spirit alone, Ruach, shall we all live in peace. The children sing, the children dream, and their tears will fall, but we'll hear them call, and another song will rise. Another song will rise. Another song will rise. Not by might, not by power. Shalom. And with that prayer for peace, we rise and turn to page 20 in our Sidurim for the 29th Psalm.
Mizmor leDavid, havu l'Adonai ben Elim, havu l'Adonai, kavod va'oz, lai, 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 havu l'Adonai kevod shemo, shtachavu l'Adonai b'hadrat kodesh, kol Adonai al amoyim, el hakavod hirim, Adonai al mayim rabim, kol Adonai bakoach, Kol Adonai Behador, Kol Adonai Shover Arozim, Vaishaber Adonai et Arze Halvonon, Vayarkidem Kamo Egel Levanon, Vesirion Kemo Venereimim. Kol Adonai Chotzev Lahavot Eish, Kol Adonai Yachil Midbar, Yachil Adonai Midbar Kodesh, Kol Adonai Yecholel Ayolot, Vayechesov Ye'arot, Uvehechalo, Kulo Omer Kavod, Lai Lai Lai, Adonai, Lama Bul Yoshov Yeshev Adonai Melech, Adonai Oz Le'amo Yitain, Adonai Yevorech et Amo Vashalom, Lai 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 Lai, Lai 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 Lai, Lai 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 Lai. Lie, 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 lie.
You may be seated, and as we approach the climactic moment of the Kabbalat Shabbat service, Lecha Dodi will precede that by a quick reading called Meditation.
When I pray, I talk to God. When I study, God talks to me. When we do both, we are fully engaging and engaged with God and God with us. When we sing, when we dance, we take that engagement to a new level. Let us do that now. Please turn to page 21 and 22 for Lecha Dodi.
Lecha Dodi likrat kala, Penei Shabbat nekabla. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, Penei Shabbat. Shamor v'zachar b'dibur, Hishmiano el hamiyuchar Adonai echad Ushmo echad l'shem ultiferet v'litila Lecha Dodi likrat kala Penei Shabbat nekabla Likrat Shabbat lechu v'nelcha Ki hi mekor habracha merosh mikedem Nesucha sof ma'aseh v'machshavot techila Lecha Dodi likrat kala Penei Shabbat Mikdash Melech Ir Melucha Kum Mitzei Mitoicha Hafecha Ravelach Shevet V'yemek Habocha V'hu Yachamol Alayichem Ela Lecha Dodi Likrat Kala Penei Shabbat Hitna'ari me'afor kumi livshi bigdei tifaratecha mi aliyar ben Yishai beit halach mi karva el nafshi ge'ala lecha dodi likrat kala penei Shabbat nekabla hit oreri kiva orech kumi uri Kavod Adonai alayich nigla lecha dodi likrat kala penei Shabbat Lo tevoshi velo tikalmi matish tochachi umatemi boch yechesu aniyei ami venivneta ir altila lecha dodi likrat kala penei Shabbat nekabla v'hayulim shisa shai saich v'rocha kukal mevala Eloich Yosis Olaich Elohayich Kimsos Chatan Alakala Lechadodi Likrat Pene Shabbat Nekabla Hayamin Husmolati Yifrotzi V'et Adonai Taritzi Al Yad Ish Ben Partzi V'nismecha V'nagila Lechadodi Likrat Kala Pene Shabbat Bo Ivishalo Ateres Balo Gam Besimcha Ubetzala Toichemune Am Segula Bo Ichala Lechadodi Likrat Kala Pene Shabbat Nekabela.
Please remain standing for a couple of things. First of all, we welcome in Alan Goldstein, and we offer him condolences for the loss this past week of his father, Harris Goldstein. We say to him, Hamakom Yinachem Etchem B'tok Sha'arvei Leit Zion V'Yerushalayim. May God comfort you, along with all the mourners of Zion and Jerusalem. Let us all say Amen. Also at this time, we're going to recognize the victims very briefly of the massacre, and we're first going to start with those who were injured in the attack, and following my mentioning those names, we'll sing the Debbie Friedman Misha Be'erach, as we commonly do on Saturdays, but this one is reserved simply for those who were injured in the attack, and their names are Zaire Goodman, Jennifer Warrington, and Christopher Braden. We'll sing together the Debbie Friedman Misha Be'erach.
Misha Be'erach Avotenu Mekor HaBracha Leimotenu. May the source of strength, who blessed the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say Amen. Misha Imotenu Mekor HaBracha Lavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say Amen.
You may be seated. We'll continue with the Psalms on 23 and the top of 24.
Tzadikat amor yifrach ke'eres balavanon yiske shetulim beved Adonai v'chatzrot Eloheinu yafrichu or Yenovon Beseva Deshenim Everananim Yeyo Lahagir Ki Yoshor Adonai Tzuri Velo Avlotabo. Erotecha ne'emnu me'od leveitcha nava kodesh Adonai liorech yamim.
We're about to do the mourner's Kaddish for the conclusion of Kabbalat Shabbat, and before we do that, I'd like to invite up another reader for a Kaddish after gun violence.
A Kaddish after gun violence for when humanity fails itself, by Rabbi Paul Kimpness. Little feels holy today. Another mass shooting, an incomprehensible horror, too many dead and too many wounded. And we are left to mourn the dead, to heal the wounded, and to wonder why. Is this part of your plan? That death and destruction emerges from the free will you entrusted to us? That automatic gunfire rains down unceasingly? That people kill people using weapons we designed and created with the minds you accorded us? In your Torah, we are taught that when Moses and the Israelites stood praying at the shores of the Red Sea, while the Egyptians' army was bearing down on them, you called out to us, "Why are you crying out to me? Tell the Israelites to move on." So help us move on, not for forgetting this horror, not for explaining it away, not by blaming the easy targets, but by having courage to mourn the dead, heal the victims, and bless the first responders who lead with love to change the laws and to save lives. Bring peace that comes because we did not become inured to the continual violence in our houses of worship and our concert venues, our schools, our malls, and our neighborhoods. As we did not allow the calls for prayer to turn us away from the actions we must take to end mass shootings, but because we did have the courage to stand up, speak up, and act out for all Israel and all the world. So one day, your world, free from the violence, will finally reflect your exaltedness and holiness. Please rise for the mourner's cottage, which is found on page 24.
Yikadal v'yikadash shemei rabam v'yalma divra kirutei v'yamlich malchutei v'chayechon v'yomechon v'chayei dechol beit Yisrael v'agalau v'zman kari v'imru amen. Yehi shmei rabam v'orach le'olam v'lomei almaya Yiparach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh V'yitadar v'yitale v'yitalal shmei d'kudusha b'richu Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata damiran v'yalma v'imru amen. Yehi shlama rabba min shemaya v'chayim alinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'mramav hu yaseh shalom alinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. May be seated. Now, this would typically be the time in a Kabbalat Shabbat service where I would teach a little something from the ethics of our ancestors, Pirkei Avot. I found it instead fitting to invite a reader to come up to recite the final Kavanah for the evening, and that does have words of Torah, so once we have completed that, then we will be able to recite another Kaddish, and prior to that I will be reciting the names of those who lost their lives in the massacre 30 days ago. So we'll continue now with the final Kavanah.
The final Kavanah by Rabbi Michael Strassfeld. We live in this world of shattering. We feel in our bodies and in our souls the brokenness of the world, and we feel at times the resonance in ourselves of that initial cosmic shattering. Our bodies, like that primordial world, try not to contain, but rather to hold on to the divine light and energy flowing around us and in us. In this world of shattered hopes and expectations, we search for wholeness. Moses shattered the first set of tablets, the first set of the 10 Commandments, and then he got a second set that he helped to write. When the ark was constructed for the sanctuary, the rabbis tell us not only the whole set of tablets was put into the holy ark, but the pieces from the first set as well. Wholeness comes not from ignoring the broken pieces or hoping to magically glue them back together. The shattered coexists with a whole. The divine is to be found amid the darkest depths and the heaviest muck of the universe. Every moment has the potential for redemption and wholeness. Our brokenness gives us that vision and the potential to return some of the divine sparks scattered in the world.
This extra Kaddish that we add is for those who perished in the Holocaust, those who've perished fighting for the state of Israel, those who've died of COVID-19 and other maladies, and those who have died in the line of fire, whether you're talking about Ukraine, whether you're talking about violence throughout the world, and certainly, so sadly, across the United States and here in Buffalo. And so we remember tonight, especially, the names, the memories of Roberta A. Drury, Margus D. Morrison, Andre McNeil, Aaron Salter, Geraldine Talley, Celestine Cheney, Hayward Patterson, Catherine Massey, Pearl Young, and Ruth Whitfield. May the memories of those harmed, those who were killed in the massacre at Tops always be for a blessing. And may we stand resolute to keep their memories alive by supporting anyone who was a victim of hate, just as we would hope that, God forbid, any act of hate toward us, that we would hope for people to support us. We owe the same, anyone who was a victim. We rise, we turn to page 24 once again for an extra Kaddish. Yikadal, Yikadash, Shemei Rabam, B'yoma divra kirute v'yamlich malchute, v'chayechon uv'yomechon uv'chayik kol beit Yisrael. Agalau v'zman kari v'imru, Amen. Yehi shmei rabam v'vorach le'olam v'lomei amaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitraman v'yitnaseh. Yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shmei dekudsha b'richu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, amiran b'yalma v'imru, Amen. Yehi shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru, Amen. Oseh shalom b'ramav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru, Amen. We remain standing as we now welcome Shabbat formally with the Mariv service. Baruch Hu begins on page 28.
Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach.
Baruch Adonai Mevorach le'olam va'ed.
Baruch Adonai HaMevorach le'olam va'ed.
You may be seated.
ומעביר יום ומביא לילה, ומבדיל בין יום ובין לילה, אדוני צבאות שמו, אל חי וקיים, תמיד ימלוך עלינו לעולם ועד, ברוך אתה אדוני המעריב ערבים. אהבת עולם בית ישראל, עמך אהבת. תורה ומצוות, חוקים ומשפטים, אותנו לימדת. על כן אדוני אלוהינו, בשכבנו ובקומנו, נשיח בחוקיך, ונשמח בדברי תורתך, ובמצוותיך לעולם ועד. כי הם חיינו באורך ימינו, ובהם נגה יומם ולילה, ואהבתך אל תסיר ממנו לעולמים. ברוך אתה אדוני אוהב עמו ישראל. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha, bechol levavcha, ubechol nafshecha, ubechol me'odecha, ve'hayu hadvarim ha'ele, אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבבך, ושיננתם לבניך, ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך, ובלכתך בדרך, ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך. Adonai Elohechem emet.
Page 32.
ומלכותו ברצון קיבלו עליהם, משה ובני ישראל הכנו שירה, בשמחה רבה ויאמרו כולם, מי כמוך באלים ארוני, מי כמוך נדר בקודש, נורא תהילה רוסף אלה, מלכותך ראו בניך, בוקע ים לפני משה, זה אלינו ויאמרו, ארוני מלוך לעולם ועד, ונאמר כי פדה אדוני את יעקב, וגאלו מיד חזק ממנו, ברוך אתה אדוני גואל ישראל. ושמור צאתנו ובואנו לחיים ולשלום מעתה ועד עולם, ופרוס עלינו סוכת שלומך, ברוך אתה אדוני הפורש סוכת שלום עלינו ועל כל עמו ישראל ועל ירושלים.
Please rise, page 34.
ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם, ביני ובין בני ישראל עוד היא לעולם, כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ, וביום השביעי שבת וינפש. יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבו, בעולמו דברו חירותי, וימליך מלכותי, בחייכון ובחיי דכל בית ישראל, בגלה ובזמן הקרב ויאמרו, יהי שמי רבה מבורך לעולם ולעולמי עלמיה. ויתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי דקודשו לעילא מן כל ברכתה ושירתה תושבחתה ונחמתה דמירן בעלמא ויאמרו.
We recite the Amidah individually, pages 35 through 38. When you've concluded your recitation, kindly remain standing. Feel free to continue if you're still reciting the Amidah. Page 47.
ויחולו השמיים והארץ וכל צבאם, ויכל אלוהים ביום השביעי מלאכתו אשר עשה, וישבות ביום השביעי מכל מלאכתו אשר עשה, ויברך אלוהים את יום השביעי ויקדש אותו, כי בו שבת מכל מלאכתו אשר ברא אלוהים לעשות.
May be seated.
ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו ואלוהי אבותינו, אלוהי אברהם, אלוהי יצחק ואלוהי יעקב, אלוהי שרה, אלוהי רבקה, אלוהי רחל ואלוהי לאה, האל הגדול, הגיבור והנורא, אל עליון, קונה שמיים וארץ, מגן אבות בדברו, מחיי מתים במאמרו, האל הקדוש שאין המניח לעמו ביום שבת קודשו, כי בם רצה להניח להם, כי בם רצה להניח להם, לפניו נעבוד ביראה ופחד, ונודה לשמו בכל יום תמיר מאל הברכות אל ההודעות. אדון השלום מקדש השבת ומברך שביעי, ומניח בקדושו לימדו שני עונג, זכר למעשה וראשית. אלוהינו ואלוהי אבותינו, רצה ומנוחתנו, קדשנו במצוותיך, ותן חלקנו בתורתך, סבנו מטובך, ושמחנו בישועתך, וטהר ליבנו לעבדך באמת, והנחילנו אדוני אלוהינו באהבה וברצון שבת קודשך, וינוחו בישראל מקדשי שמך. ברוך אתה אדוני מקדש השבת. יתגדל ויקדש שם רבה, ויעלמוד יברך חירותי וימליך מלכותי, וחייכנו ויומכנו וחיי לכל בית ישראל, בגולה ובזמן קורא ואמרו, יהי שמי רבה מבורך, לעולם ולעולמי עולמיה. יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא, ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי קודשו, לעילה מנחה ברכתה ושירתה, תושבחתה ונחמתה, דמירן בעלמה ואמרו, תתקבל צלתן ובאותן דכל ישראל, קדם אבוהן דבשמע ואמרו, יהי שלום רבה מן שמיה, וחיים עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו, עושה שלום במרומו, והוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו.
We rise as we embrace life. Our cantor will lead us in a L'chaim with the Kiddush on page 49, and that'll be followed by Aleinu on 51.
ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם בורא פרי הגפן. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם אשר קידשנו במצוותיו ורצה בנו בשבת קודשו באהבה וברצון. הנחילנו זיכרון למעשה וראשית, כי הוא יום תחילה למקראי קודש, זכר ליציאת מצרים, כי באנו בחרת ואותנו קידשת מכל העמים, ושבת קודשך באהבה וברצון הנחלתנו. ברוך אתה אדוני Mekadesh HaShabbat. Aleinu l'shabeach l'Adon, לתת גדולה ליוצר, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו. גורלנו ככל המונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים, הקדוש ברוך הוא. ככתוב בתורתך, אדוני ימלוך לי עולם ועד, ונאמר, והיה למלך על כל הארץ, ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו אחד.
Please be seated. We also remember the yard sites of the following loved ones: Rose Clara Edelstein, Irving Atlas, Sylvia Banditson, Pauline Bernhard, Sadie Bernstein, Gerald Burzon, Bernard Bollett, Gerald Book, Sylvia Burstein, Harry Cohen, Paula Dobrinsky, Bessie Dezoritz, Norman Foreman, Carlos Garcia, Ralph Gattuso, Beatrice Pearl Gelfand, Irving Goldman, Adrian Goldstein, Dora N. Eiserer, Marion Keshen, Morris Kissen, Brenda Sue Krieger, Esther Kurland, Dorothy Kurlander, John Levy, Marion Max, Barbara McClanahan, Thelma Messenger, Sally Moss, Eva Moss, Abraham Nisberg, Mayor Orgel, Elaine Pieta, Boris Pevzner, Margalit Post, Edward Potosky, Samuel L. Pozarny, Lena Reish, Alexander Safir, Tilly Sheff, Ann Selling, Helene Schaefer, Ida Scharf, Rose Diamond Schlesser, Bernard Saratsky, Aaron Saratsky, Jacob Statland, Morris Swagler, Yetta Tax, Ilya Weinreib, and Loretta Zimmer. Is there anyone specific who any of you are remembering this evening? You can feel free to stand up and mention their names.
Lena Reese, my mother.
My mother, Adrian Goldstein.
My daughter-in-law, Barbara McClanahan.
May their memories all be for a blessing. And if anyone who is saying Kaddish will now kindly rise as we turn to page 52. Yikadal v'yikadash shemeh rabba v'yamad yivrak yeruteh v'yamlich malchuteh v'chayechon v'yomechon v'chayeh dechol beit Yisrael ba'agalau v'zman kariv v'imru amen. Yehi shmeh rabba mevorach le'olam u'lameh amaya yiparach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shmeh dekudsha b'richu Lehela min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechamata damiran bi'alma v'imru amen. Yehi shlama rabba min shemaya v'chaim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'mramav hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. You may be seated. Marcia Goldstein, announcements.
Shabbat Shalom. Thank the rabbi and the cantor for leading us tonight. Tomorrow morning services begin at 9:30 in the morning. We have the Ofruf of Eric Mandel and Chloe Greenfield. You can join us. Also, Mazel Tov to our member Cantor Penny Myers, who's been ordained as a rabbi, and she will be doing the Haftarah tomorrow. Mariv and Havdalah tomorrow night will be at 9:30, and then it'll start to get a little earlier. There's a whole bunch of stuff going on. Also, tomorrow is the summer send-off, so it'd be kind of nice to wish our kids they're going off to camp and all that stuff. And there's lots of other stuff. You can read it. Shabbat Shalom.
So I certainly want to thank everyone who's here, everyone who's watching for your indulgence, as I know this service was a little bit different than before, but I felt it was important to mark this time and to mark this particular time in our history. So thank you so much, and of course, thank you to the cantor. We'll conclude tonight with Adon Olam on page 54.
Adon Olam asher molach b'terem kol yitzir nivra li'et nasa v'chefza kol azai melech shemo nikra Adon Olam v'yacharei kichlot hakol levado yimloch nara Adon Olam v'hu haya v'hu hoveh v'hu yiyeh b'tifara Adon Olam Adon Olam Asher Malach B'terem Kol Yitzir Nivra Li'et Nasa V'chefzo Kol Azai Melech Shemo Nikra Adon Olam V'hu Echad V'yein Sheni Laham Shilo Lahach Bira Adon Olam B'li Reshit B'li Tachlit V'lo Ha'oz V'ha'misra Adon Olam Adon Olam Asher Malach B'terem kol yitzir nivra le'et nasa v'chefzo kol azai melech shemo nikra Adon Olam v'hu eli v'chai go'ali v'tzur chavli b'yet tzara Adon Olam v'hu nisi yumanos li menos kosi b'yom mekra Adon Olam Adon Olam asher malach b'terem kol Yitzir nivra le'et nasa v'chefzo kol azai melech shemo nikra Adon Olam beyavado av kidruchi be'et ishan ve'a'ira Adon Olam v'yimruchi geviyati Adon Oli v'lo ira Adon Olam Adon Olam asher malach b'terem kol Yitzir nivra Le'et nasa v'chefzo kol azai melech shemo nikra Adon Olam. Shabbat Shalom. Yes, go. Nice service for you. Yeah, very appropriate prayers.
Thanks much. Appreciate it.
Right.
Very good.
Very good.
Good Shabbos. Good Shabbos. And good Shabbos.
I see you made it out of the development. Veteran.
It was a lovely service, Rabbi. Thank you. You did a nice job with that. Do you want these back? Oh, sure, I'll have them. They're fine. Thank you. I missed Andy. He usually is strumming his guitar today.
Yeah.
Good job.